You're listening to a production of the National Media Archive. To learn more or volunteer, go to nationalmediaarchive.com.
Age on the outside does not always match what is going on inside. A body might clock in at 55 years old, while the impulses stay frozen at 4.5. Or a teenager might stand at the door of adulthood while carrying the quiet wisdom of someone far older. A quick reality check on emotional development comes down to one deceptively simple question. When someone who holds emotional weight disappoints, vanishes, or leaves things dangling in confusion, how does the response show up? There are 3 classic ways that signal the emotional age might be stuck back in preschool. The first is sulking. This is the mix of silent fury and deep upset with a total refusal to say what the problem is. Pride takes a hit. Dignity feels paper thin. The thought of spelling out the pain feels too raw. So there is a silent hope that the other person will magically crack the code and fix everything without a word spoken. Just like a small child who has no language yet but wants the parent to mind read the problem. The second reaction is fury, the full blow up. Rage arrives massive and out of proportion. It can look fierce, but behind that roar is someone who feels lost and powerless. All that rage tries to claw back some control. The big insults, the sharp words, these are masks covering fear and helplessness. The anger says power, the truth says panic. The third response is to go cold. Admitting that someone's actions hurt means admitting they matter. That takes guts. So the easier route is an ice wall of pretending nothing happened. When vulnerability spikes highest, the mask of indifference slams down. No slight felt, no care given, at least on the surface. Sometimes it is not an act. The wound gets buried so deep it is easier not to feel at all than risk more pain. Feeling numb beats feeling raw. Each of these 3 moves points straight to 3 things that mark real emotional maturity. First up is the power to explain. This means having enough steadiness to spell out exactly why something hurts. Not to lash out, not to hide, but to trust there are words for the pain and that speaking them does not make anyone pathetic. It is an act of belief that the other person might actually listen, might care enough to hear it through, and is not the enemy. Next comes the power to stay calm. The person with this trait knows that being firm and clear is always on the table, just not needed at full volume right out of the gate. Calm makes room for the benefit of the doubt. Calm keeps suspicion and blame in check. Shouting is optional. Panic is not automatic. The mature mind does not assume everyone wants to mock, betray, or tear them down. Finally, there is the power to be vulnerable. This is the guts to know that real closeness hands another person a chance to hurt, and choosing it anyway. The mature trusts that strength and weakness can sit side by side. Admitting the wound, asking for help, staying open when humiliated, this is not weakness, but proof of inner muscle. The tears are not a problem to hide. They are human, and humans deserve someone who can hold that weight without flinching. These 3 powers link up to 3 big cornerstones of emotional maturity: clear communication, deep trust, and honest vulnerability. These 3 cornerstones do not land by accident. For some, a warm, steady childhood handed over this emotional toolkit early. For others, the lessons come later, harder and slower. It is like growing up fluent in a language versus picking it up as an adult. The difference is real. So is the effort. Plenty never heard adults speaking the dialect of emotional maturity at home. Anger, silence, and cold distance were the script instead. So the grown-up self might be left guessing how to string the right words together, or how to sit calmly with fear without slamming the door. There is no shame in being a rookie at this. At least half the world never got a childhood crash course in feelings, so school starts late. But the work is worth it. 5,000 to 10,000 hours of real-life practice, explaining clearly, staying calm under fire, risking softness when it feels dangerous. This is the grammar of emotional adulthood. It is tough, it is clumsy, it is slow, but it builds something solid that age alone never could. Learning this language of emotional adulthood does not mean perfection. Slip-ups come standard. Old habits, sulking, rage, freezing out, sneak back in when stress hits hard enough. But the point is not spotless performance. The point is knowing there is another option. Every time the urge to storm off or shut down shows up, the mature response waits in the background. Say what hurts, breathe through the wave, admit the rawness. Over time, these moves stop feeling like a foreign tongue. They become native speech for handling betrayal, confusion, or heartbreak without making the mess bigger. And when these three powers, communication, trust, vulnerability, lock in, relationships shift. Fights lose the poison edge. Silence loses its sting. Indifference melts into honesty. There is no magic wand, just small, repeated acts of emotional fluency. A language worth speaking, no matter how late the lesson starts. The reality is, being fluent in this emotional language does not erase disappointment or stop hurt from happening. It does not guarantee every conversation will land well or that every person will respond with equal maturity. But it does make handling the mess less destructive. The sulker speaks up instead of stewing. The fury simmers down before torching the room. The freeze-out cracks just enough to let honesty through. All three responses lose their grip when communication, trust, and vulnerability step up. In families, at work, in love, the payoff is real. Closeness deepens because people know what is going on instead of guessing. Trust grows because anger does not bulldoze the bond. Vulnerability shifts from a threat to proof that someone cares enough to let another see the soft parts. This is the emotional version of showing up, not just in calm moments, but when pride is bruised, when fear says shut it down, when the old reflex says slam the door. Staying open is the hard route, but it is the only route that builds anything worth keeping. All of this is slow work. There is no instant download for emotional maturity, no quick fix for a childhood where silence or rage filled the gaps. But every honest talk, every moment of calm, every crack in the ice wall, they stack up. It is not about reaching some perfect level where disappointment never stings or where every word lands right. It is about shrinking the gap between the age on the outside and the strength on the inside. The goal is not to erase the child within, but to guide that child with an adult's steady hand. In the end, the language of emotional adulthood is just that, a language. Speak it clumsily, then better. Get it wrong, then right. But keep speaking it. Because behind all the sulking, the rage, the cold silence is the same truth. Humans want to be heard, understood, and held, no matter how grown the body gets.